Cool. Hey everybody, I'm Chris Light with Future Home Realty, 100K Club, and there was a high demand for me to talk about down payment assistance and Home Partners of America. So that's what I'm here today to do, just go over some ideas, kind of, get your Q&As, because I get a ton of phone calls from agents about, hey, help me with this, help me with that, what can we do? So it's kind of what I'm doing today. Got a good hour. Hopefully I can make the most of it for you guys. If you got questions, don't be scared to ask. I made a little PowerPoint to kind of roll with it, but we can kind of take this wherever it needs to go, because I don't know what you guys want to know, stuff like that. Couple disclosures real quick, because I will talk about a little bit of stuff, but I am not a mortgage broker, attorney, title guy, appraiser, credit repair specialist, investor. I'm not even a Publix manager anymore, which is the best thing ever. And ironically, and I'm thinking about this real quick, my first closing was a year ago on the 9th. And I mean, what a lifestyle change this has been for me. And I looked back, I ran my numbers. I did $3.25 million in sales in my first rookie year. So pretty awesome. And about 2/3 of those were down payment assistance buyers. So definitely, if you're trying to start up and you're trying to find that niche, just like Bob says, go after the first-time buyers. But if you take this info and you use it in those open houses and those TGEs, it's going to take you to the next level, and it's going to definitely help you build your business. I'm a realtor, licensed real estate agent. Keep in mind, any information shared today, always verify it with a lender, title guy, et cetera, et cetera. I deem hopefully everything accurate, but at the end of the day, if I miss something by $1, and they call it, that's their call. Down payment assistance. How many of you are in, say, your first year and a half? So we got a good handful of people in here. How many of you know the ins and outs of the down payment assistance in that first year? So see, this is a great program. So you're standing at that open house and, say it's a $150,000 open house and you're meeting Joe, and Joe comes in and he's like, yeah, I'd like to buy a house. I'm renting. I'm paying $1,200, $1,300 in rent right now. Holy cow, they could own. And they're sitting there and they're like, well, I don't got any money for a down payment. They got enough to scrounge up for that security deposit of a month's rent, but that's not going to get them to closing. With down payment assistance, that gets them to closing. Like I said, traffic generating events, if you're using vacant, I prefer renovated open houses between 150 and 225. If you work those, you will get all those first time home buyer leads, and they work out real nicely. Most renters are struggling, like I said, to save up for a down payment, but they can afford a mortgage payment that's around their rent price. And that's what the goal of the down payment assistance program is. Why work down payment assistance with a passion? It's a great program. And a couple examples I have here. I sold a $92,000 house back in March, and she sent me a $250,000 referral the next week. And she's sent me one more that I'm actually pre-qualifying today for $200,000. When you work a down payment assistance buyer and they realize what value you add to them, they're phenomenal. Between online, social media, and what they put in, mainly on social media, how many tags you'll get, it just makes the business just kind of blossom, and you go from doing the TGEs to literally you've become a referral business within 6 months. It works real well. And if business gets slow, just get back out there and do more lead generation in open houses. Sorry for the again, it's been a while. Down payment assistance buyer costs. Upfront, you're going to need, and these are costs that you do need to explain to your buyers as you're working with them, because they do have to have a little bit of money saved up, or they need to have somebody, say parent, friend, family, available with that money. Morning, guys. You're going to need about $500 to $1,500 for escrow. I always start when I write my offers at the low end between $5,000 and $1,000, and usually it works. The less money they have to put in, the better on their end, mainly because of the fact that unlike a VA loan where you can get your escrow back at closing, even if every dollar is covered at closing, they don't get that money back. It goes towards closing costs or principal. You'll need like $500 for inspections, $350 to $400 for D-Bennett inspections, advanced home inspections, whoever does your home inspections, and then of course $100 for termite. It's important to know that you do have to do the termite for the FHA loan, just a good reminder on that. If it's conventional, it's optional, but it's worth the money. And I would highly recommend if somebody says, I don't want to do a termite inspection, to have them sign that waiver, because you don't want it to come back and bite you in the butt, and home warranties don't cover termites. Up to $500 for appraisal. And I've had with my lenders, I'll talk about lenders in a little bit. Some lenders are really good at, not charging the client for the appraisal. Some still do it, and charge the client. So make sure they have that money available. They do get reimbursed, but it does go as a reimbursement on the closing statement. So it's not like they get it back in their pocket. And then whatever cash is needed to close. And I've had that vary from nothing to about $1,400 based on how the contract was drawn up. I always try to get some extra closing cost coverage from the seller, which has driven that literally on 2 or 3 transactions to zero. But the average closing, I would have to say, is maybe out of pocket. Say they put down $1,000. I've seen the average come out right at about $500, $550. I mean, I had one where we walked to closing at $505, and the title company said, don't wire the money, just write a check. And that's unheard of. So it is possible to buy a house for like $2,000. Questions as I'm going through? Anybody? Anything? Yeah.
Do you ask for closing costs in this market with multiple offers?
Very much so. So one tactic that I've found successful with multiple offer situations, sometimes, and I've done a few where I've beat out cash offers. It comes down to, at the end of the day, the terms that you're writing in there. A cash offer, one I got under contract right now, had a cash buyer at the same price as mine. That cash buyer wanted to close in 10 days. Seller needed 55. They took my offer. I did do with that offer some closing costs, and we negotiated, I think it was 3 in closing costs. We brought the price up another $2,000, and we got those closing costs. There are ways to negotiate it, and at the end of the day, it comes down to the appraisal. As long as the house appraises, you can do whatever you want. The $92,000 one that I talked about a couple slides back, that was on the market for $87,500, completely redone up in Newport Richey, and I had them put a roof on, and she got $4,000 in closing costs, and he only kicked the price up $5,000. So it is possible. You just have to sometimes go at either list price or a little over list price and cross your fingers that the place appraises. Because I'm dealing with one right now. It's actually a lead from Nick where it's $30,000 under, and they're not using down payment assistance, and I guess I'm going out to show them another 50 houses. Yes, sir.
Regarding the closing costs help, there are banks that will, given a certain credit score, pay the buyer's closing costs. I deal with one, they'll charge a slightly higher rate, but they'll cover the closing costs if the buyer has a 640 or higher credit score.
So that, Frank Cotto with, I think, Lincoln Lending has that, where it's the 3% down program, and they rebate back the 2% towards closing costs.
Do this with FHA, though.
Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah.
It's either that one or it's the Sapphire program. I've yet to really use the Sapphire program because I found the States program to be really strong, really great. But the cool thing about Sapphire, and I'm pretty sure that's the one you're talking about, it can be used by non-first-time buyers. So that might be the one you're discussing. And it's supposed to be a good program. I think Freedom Mortgage does that one.
This was a situation where we asked for closing costs. They granted that because they're not appraised high enough. And so we couldn't get the closing costs at the end of the day. And so the lender was able to pay the costs.
That's great.
Fantastic. Save the deal.
That's really good. if you can get the lender to cut back some of the closing costs, that's sometimes a great benefit too. But the one thing I know with bond is that they charge you, out of closing costs. They really do. Oh, is that me? Let me turn that off, because that'll be absolutely obnoxious.
I've never heard of the Sapphire program. Can you explain that one?
So, sorry guys. So Sapphire, I'm not as familiar with Sapphire. Sapphire supposedly will give you a 5% grant that's forgiven at closing towards your closing costs and can be used with that. Richard Smith with Freedom Mortgage did solicit me with that one. I could send out info on that. I've yet to use that program because I found that this program's just as good and I've had a lot of success with it. But the one thing about Sapphire that I am aware of is that it will allow a non-first time buyer to use it. But I don't know many of the details of it. And usually when it's been a non-first time buyer that I've worked with, they've had a house to sell and they've had the equity that we can, pull from that to put into the new house. So buyer costs, we went over that. Not all lenders are down payment assistance lenders. Just a quick thing to share about this. If you're working with down payment assistance and you're talking with clients about down payment assistance and they say, and this is my favorite line right here, oh, my cousin's a lender. Well, before you have your cousin pull your credit and all that stuff, ask him if he does down payment assistance in Florida Bond. Because if not, he's pulled your credit for no reason. And here's the thing is multiple inquiries, that's usually the next question. Multiple inquiries, usually everyone's like freaking out because the whole thing is too many inquiries hurt you. It's just like buying a car. When you go to the car dealership, if you apply for financing within the dealership, they're going to pull your credit 6 times in 2 minutes. Ally, Capital One, all these banks will pull your credit. You can do that with a mortgage. As long as it's within 30 days, it only looks as one hit on the way that they look at it on FICO. Now, one thing you want to advise them to do is do not, the same day that you apply for a mortgage, apply for a car loan and a credit card. Seriously. And with first-time buyers, the one thing you got to do with first-time buyers is educate. So I know you guys are all laughing about that because it's quite obvious. I've had 2 that I've had to tell that to so far. They're like, oh my gosh, I applied for a credit card the same day. And I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. Couple numbers of lenders, and these are the 2 that I use, and I've found that the 2 of them are phenomenal, and they've gotten me the results I've wanted. Robin Field with Synovus, she's on, I think, the board for HUD or something out here. She knows her stuff. There's her number. She also does stacking of programs, and I'll talk about that in a couple slides. And then Morgan Gall with Supreme Lending, he's phenomenal also, very able to be reached, can call him weekend, nights, he'll pick up the phone. I've written an offer at 8:45 at night inside a townhome and called him with a couple questions and he picked up the phone. So that's something that I pride myself in, is being responsive. So I try to use lenders who are kind of the same style as me. I know there's others out there that also do the down payment assistance loans. Make sure you ask, the big question you want to ask, they work the program, how many have they done? Oh, well, sure, this is my second one. Not a good idea, because there's a lot of intricacies in the back end of a down payment assistance loan, and if they don't get it right, it could cost your buyer money. Especially a lot of the investors are charging late fees if you close late now, so you don't want that to happen to your poor clients. Facts on the down payment assistance bond program. They can't own a house for the previous 3 years. So if they owned a house 5 years ago, hey, guess what? They're a first-time home buyer. Military veterans, that is the one exclusion on that. They can sell a house and get this money. And that's really a great deal to tie into a VA loan. They got to complete a first-time homebuyer course. Don't let them go to the 8-hour course that City of Clearwater does or wherever it's at. It's available online. And I don't know how many have said, oh, I'm going to the course. I'm like, call your lender, get the online info. They get it done in 45 minutes online. Debt to income ratio, FHA I know right now is running about a 55%. You can only do a 45% DTI ratio on a down payment assistance loan. 640 plus mid FICO score, that's really, really important. If they're getting towards that, a lot of the lenders will help point them in the right direction, but that's the score that is a make or break. They have to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, which is the green card. And seller can contribute towards closing costs. Max is 3% conventional, 6% FHA, and VA, they can pretty much have the whole house. Yeah.
With the VA, so you can do the assistant and be a VA, can have both?
Now, ironically, though, I've yet to close a VA on down payment assistance.
VA gets 100% finance.
Yeah.
They do.
You
So,
don't have to.
But closing costs, they don't.
If the VA borrower does less than, better than 10%, he may end up with a lot less initial funding fee.
yeah.
I just did my VA loan, and sure enough, if I put 10% down, my funding fee drops.
Exactly.
If I do-
Well, see, but that's where the 15,000 comes in. Is that's that money, because in the eyes of the way that the first mortgage is done, even though it's a second mortgage, it's handled as cash. And that's kind of the cool thing is with a condo with down payment assistance, you don't write it in on the contract as down payment assistance. Don't put it on the contract anywhere. Put it in as cash. And that condo association that requires 10% down to be able to live in there, boom, you just got it done. And that's kind of the workaround with it.
One more time, sorry.
What's that?
Can you say what you just said one more time? About the condo?
Okay.
In the contract, like when you put your numbers.
So when you write in the contract, you've got the whole thing with your numbers. In the beginning, I used to put on the other line, Florida's hardest hit, down payment assistance fund, $15,000, blah, blah, blah. I don't do that anymore. I just do, whatever the pre-approval says, 95.5 or whatever it is. I put in the percentage. I let transaction desk automatically change that number on the bottom to balance, and it runs that way. When you run it that way, and here's the thing, the pre-approval letters all say it's bond. It says it on the pre-approval letter, but on the contract, it shows that $15,000 more is a cash situation. So when you go to submit to a condo association that requires 5%, 10% down, to buy into that condo association, when you submit that contract, to them, all they're seeing is that, hey, they've got cash that they're putting in. Beachway is a great example, and that's one that I just got through. Beachway's down in Seminole off of right south of Park by the new mall, and they require 10% down, cash, to buy a condo in their community. So 100% financing doesn't work in that community. So I wrote a contract where, it was down payment assistance. She got 25% because it was, or $25,000 because it was stacked. And she was able to put 15% down by doing it that way. And she got into there and she paid $2,000. And I think she only did that to lower the payment. Yes.
Chris, what I'm confused about a little bit is the, when you say cash, are you hitting that cash little box, that first box?
No.
Right.
This is financing. This is on the box above that shows purchase price $200,000, escrow $1,000, and then you've got the line that says financing.
Right.
And I put in there, instead of a dollar amount, I do 95%.
Yeah.
Or whatever percentage is in there, and then transaction desk changes that bottom line to balance
It changes
as the
it
money's
into a
due.
figure, a number,
No,
or a percentage balance, or it just says.
it just puts the word balance.
Oh, okay.
So, because really the one thing about, and I'm not going to get into contract law and all that, the one thing about the FAR bar as is contract that I never understand is you sit there and you write this awesome contract and you're putting a number there of cash to close. That's not your cash to close. You've got closing costs no matter what you do. So the word balance makes more sense because cash to close is all the balance of the house and then dollars and cents and all that. So And you know that number will change 50 times at the title company, and then when the CD comes out, it'll change another
Absolutely.
50 times. So
Perfect.
let it be. Plus, you know, when you have addendums that come out, then you're not having to change every little nuance of the contract when you do an addendum for $500, you know, credit or, you know, inspection credits or appraisal issues. It's not like you have to rewrite the entire contract from doing that. Make life easy. That's what I try to do, is simplify both my end, the client's end.
Form simplicity doesn't do that, because when you put the percentage, it just comes out like a number.
That's why I use Transaction Desk, honestly. I like TD. I mean, I know we're all I know some of you guys are using the old PDFs from Paperless Pipeline or wherever it is, or back end of FHR.
We're going away.
But they're going away. So if you haven't had a relationship yet with Transaction Desk or Form Simplicity, it's time to do it.
You have to.
You have to, because Jim Shands is saying they're going away, and I like Transaction Desk. eSign is $35 a year, and you can't beat that when DocuSign is charging $298. I think Form Simplicity is like $59, $69, something like that. And I've done. Did you say Dotloop?
Free.
I've yet to get into Dotloop. I'm going to look at that next, because
Free.
I've got one under contract right now through Dotloop, and I actually like it.
Free? I thought it was like $2.99.
There's a
Not that way.
No, there is a charge.
And you put everything, and you have all of your pet documents and everything in there, just like this. Well, Dotloop gives you a free trial period, but then they're gonna.
Yeah.
No, I've had it for 3 years. And they're not
Wait,
charging.
they charge?
And I even call,
Don't bring that to their attention.
I was gonna, Leslie, I was gonna say, that's why I'm not using Dotloop, is because when I tried Dotloop, they wanted money. So I don't know if maybe some agents were grandfathered in when Dotloop came out. I don't know.
never paid a nickel. And I call customer service and they help me.
Hey, I think I'm gonna be calling them today. I won't.
Keep her account going.
It's free with chemicals. Yeah, it's just so free.
Well, I mean, it's free with certain companies if you're willing to pay a $21,000 cap. I'll keep my $4,000. John Brokakalakis says it right on Facebook. He said it a few times to people who cap. Oh, I've capped at $25,000. We cap at $4,000.
Yeah.
You know, teach their own. If you want Dotloop for free through, you know, that company, and you want to pay $25,000 on their back end, that's cool. But it sounds like what happened is maybe, you know, some people are coming from there and they're just kind of staying in there.
That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, my MLS account, when I changed license numbers, because I was originally licensed back in 2013, didn't do anything with it. It was a whole mess because when I got relicensed, they kept all my old stuff in there. So probably the same thing. They carry over unless you call out things on it. Hardest hit facts, good stuff. Here's some maximum numbers for Pinellas, Pasco, Hillsborough. If any of you guys work Polk County, I can send you those numbers. They're a little bit different for Polk County, the Lakeland area. Conventional maximum income for the family is $82,800. Max purchase price is $312,000. For FHA, 2 people in the household is $59,200. 3 plus is $68,800. And the max purchase price is $255,000. Keep in mind that's lower than the maximums for conventional, which is like $424,000 and $271,000 on the FHA. So, you know, if they're sitting there saying, "Hey, I want max money for, you know, FHA," that's not going to happen.
Would that apply also to multifamily FHA purchases?
Ooh.
Duplexes, triplexes?
I don't know the answer to that one. I have not tested the waters on that, but that would be a call to Robin or Morgan that I could definitely find out. One other note on there, you cannot do a FHA renovation loan with down payment assistance. So forget the 203B, 203K, whatever it is. You gotta do it as is. I've got one right now, actually, we put it under contract to FHA. We're doing it as is. And of course, the seller's not making any repairs, but if there's anything that comes up in the appraisal, the buyers agreed to do it themselves because they want the house. So there's ways to do it without having to do a renovation loan and escrow after closing. Just, you know, it's all about the creativity with it. Down payment assistance, they are second mortgages, third mortgages if you're stacking. Shelley Sager, I think, is closing one right now that has 4 mortgages through Robin. And that's that stacking that we were talking about. Second mortgage is a $15,000, 0% deferred 5-year loan. After 5 years, the loan's forgiven. If the buyer sells, refinances, et cetera, before the 5 years are up, you got to give the state back 20% of the $15,000 for each year. So somebody buys a house, they sell it year 4. At closing, $3,000 is going to go to the state of Florida. The other thing with the down payment assistance on this, I forgot to mention in the PowerPoint, is the rates are a little bit higher than what the current rates are. I just closed a condo at 5.1. And I mean, you're paying a premium, but that's how they're recouping the money, to the state. Also, any loan that's tied into the state's down payment assistance program, it doesn't matter if you get it through Synovus, US Bank, Supreme Lending, whoever, it's getting sold within 60 days to US Bank. So the one nice thing about it is at the end of the day, you can say it's going to US Bank. You're going to pay your first couple, but it seems to be US Bank, and I've yet to get a complaint from any clients about service with US Bank. They're not really local out here in the Tampa Bay area, which, was strange when I was with Publix. Same thing, we used US Bank for our banking, and I never understood how we are banking with a bank that's nowhere out here, but it works. And they supposedly do a good job at what they do.
It's $15,000 for all 3 counties you mentioned before?
Yes. For the Tri-County, yes. Stacking down payment assistance. This is what I was kind of talking about. Robin Field does a phenomenal job with stacking. And stacking, I'll straight up say, just for disclosure, is a pain in the butt. She does a great job with stacking, where you can stack multiple down payment programs on top of each other. A lot of lenders are not a fan of it. Couple other down payment assistance lenders I've talked to are like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to touch it. I understand why. It is a pain in the butt for the realtor. It's a pain in the butt for the lender, and it is a pain in the butt for the buyer. The Pinellas County program, which can give you up to $20,000 in assistance, is a complete colossal pain in the butt. They do their own inspection. They want so many documents that a lot of people struggle to get all the documents found. And that's where, things will real quickly turn south with it. But Pinellas County CDC, their program, they can give up to $20,000. The cool thing is they start at a 580 credit score. So if you've got somebody with that doesn't have that 640, they can do that CDC loan, but just be prepared. It literally needs 45 to 60 days to close a CDC loan, and you will have to be on top of the CDC like this, or it'll never close. It is a painful process. I will be very honest about that. I feel bad that I'm being recorded and being honest about it, but hopefully no one screams at me. But when you stack them, it gives you a lot of money. The one that I did that was stacked a couple months ago was $25,000. It got her into the condo she wanted at the price she wanted. She brought an extra few grand to closing to bring the payment down, and she's a happy camper. The county programs, just so you know, they are loans. Unlike the deferred loan, this is a 5-year deferred loan, and you start making payments after year number 5. It adds onto your mortgage another $83 a month. So just kind of be aware of that. I guess the goal with that is, hey, in 5 years, hopefully you're making more money or the economy's better, but that's $83 of an increase in the mortgage in 5 years. Yeah.
So why is it such a pain for the realtor?
Literally, it is just, there's a lot of communication that has to be done between the realtor, the lender, and the Tampa Bay CDC. And sometimes they're not the fastest at responding, and it'll take phone calls, emails, after phone calls and emails before they respond. The other issue at hand is they're very, very nitpicky over docs. You send a whole load of docs, they want more. You send more docs, they want even more. I had one that fell apart with the CDC based on identification of the buyer's boyfriend. The buyer's boyfriend was part-time living in the house because it was one that they were renting and we were turning it into ownership for them. And he had moved in there part-time, but he was not on the loan. He was not on anything with it. And as I said, he was in there part-time, maybe 1 or 2 days a week. He went to the DMV and updated his driver's license to that house. What made the problem worse is they shared a bank account. So they wanted to see his ID when they saw the shared bank account to see where he lived. Well, he changed his mailing address to there because he felt like checking his mail there because he didn't want to check at, his parents' place. And he updated his ID because his parents, weren't in the same area. And that put that in the ground. We lost $20,000 on that one, and we had to back up and just do the state program. Still closed it, but based on everything that happened with that, what should have been a 45-day closing took about 85 days. In which, had the CDC been more communicative with us during it all, we would have been able to close that by day 50. But every time, every doc they sent, they wanted something more. And then when they finally shut it down, it had to back out. We had to rewrite the contract. We had to go back to underwriting. We had to do all kinds of stuff. So they nitpick. They really do nitpick more than the state program, which I think is surprising because I would have expected the other way around, the state to be more scrutinizing than the county for local residents.
For the county, don't they have to take that 8-hour class?
I think so. Because I know my clients had to sit through the 8-hour class. Is the county online now?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, for the state, the state's online. But a lot of people think they have to go to the 8-hour class for the state one, and a lot of people fall into that trap and do it. Don't do it. But the county one, they have to sit through it. Every client that I've had that's gone to the county one and sat through it has sent me a text saying, "This is boring." And you've taught me more as a realtor than these people are teaching because I know all this stuff because you've explained it before. Again, when you educate first-time home buyers and you talk about numbers and money and, hey, what it costs to own a house and expenses, that's what these first-time home buyer classes teach, is that same stuff. So teach it to them, they'll appreciate it, and when they get into the classwork, they'll realize, hey, you know your stuff. As I said, stacked loans take longer to close, allow 60 days. So if you write that 30-day contract on a stacked loan, you're going to have one angry seller. Just being very honest. Rough credit. Here's the one thing you do fall in when you do these TGEs and get a lot of down payment assistance buyers. They're renting because they got rough credit. But they don't have to have rough credit. There are so many organizations out there that do credit counseling, credit repair. If you point them in the direction of one of those, or you get them with a lender that points them in the right direction with that, you've locked them in. They will be your buyer. They will be forever thankful. I know Dave Folk with National Credit Federation's one. Valerie with Changing Lives Credit Counseling is another one. They get in there, they really can take a good look at the credit report, see what's going on, and advise you on how to fix your credit, what to pay off first, or if there's stuff on there that's not right, to dispute it and make it disappear. Morgan has some good contacts too. Even if somebody comes in and says, hey, I've got rough credit, let a lender pull it, because here's what happens. The lender's pulled it, the lender can then send a copy of that credit report over to the buyer so that they can send it to whoever with credit repair so they're not having to pay the $19.99 for the Tri-Bureau credit reports. I've had one where we got them financed 2 months later because it was just something simple of paying off some medical debt and disputing one thing that was incorrect. I've got one that's been in a program for 5 months now where they've cleaned up some of the stuff, but they still have some debt to pay off, and they'll be ready to buy. And they stay in touch with me, they stay in touch with the lender, and it works out real well. Because a lot of lenders just say your credit's not good, go away. And they lose interest because they're not here now, here's your paycheck. No, put them in the pipeline, guys. Keep that pipeline flowing. They might not be ready for 6 months, even though you met them last Tuesday. But 6 months from now, when they call you, you're going to get all excited and be like, oh my gosh, I got business I forgot about. That's right there. Check in with them here and there, and they'll be sure, to stay with you. Once their credit's ready, they can buy. If you put them through credit repair and you patch them up so well that they can own a house, again, there's your referral sources. They're going to come like none other to you with new buyers. And if they have money saved up and their credit's rougher, they may be a good candidate for Home Partners of America, which I'm going to go into in the second half. Home warranties. I know this is kind of a different end of down payment assistance because it's not really down payment assistance related, but something that I really wanted to bring up. A lot of these buyers have been living with mom and dad or living in an apartment where all they got to do is pick up their phone, maintenance, come fix my AC. That's great. How much is an AC nowadays when you own a house? $5,000, $6,000? Hey, I've owned my house for 4 days, my AC just went out. I'm broke. $625. Tell them to get a home warranty. Get the seller to pay for it. 99% of the time, the seller will pay for a home warranty if you just mark it in there. I think some sellers don't even read contracts because they just scroll through it. Oh, sign, 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 sign. I've had sellers who haven't read that. I've asked for $5,000 in closing costs, and they scream at me. I'm like, should have read the contract. I wrote it. You should have read it.
With Old Republic, I have that. We had an AC issue. It's a $75 deductible. I mean, normally you pay that to someone just to show up.
Exactly.
And other than that, they took care of parts and labor. So,
Yes.
you know, well,
Their Old Republic is absolutely phenomenal. I don't make a, number one, let me say this. I say this to my clients just like this. I do not make a dime off selling you a home warranty. We're not legally allowed to, but this is how passionate I am about it. It's $525 for their platinum plan, which is their midline plan. It covers permits. It covers pretty much everything that needs to be done, which if an AC needs to be replaced, you got to have a permit. So it's worth that $525. On the $525 plan, it is a $100 copay. They bumped up the $550 plan to $600 now for the costs, and that's the $75 copay one. So unless you get 3 calls in a year, the $525 is a better value. Add-on, then look at the add-ons. If it's a roof and it's not brand new with the transferable warranty, it's worth $100 for the roof leak coverage. If it has a pool, it's worth the $290 for the pool coverage. I had a buyer who 6 weeks in, his pool pump went out, his AC had a capacitor blow. $2,500 later that the home warranty spent, it was fixed. Out of his pocket was $200. Worth every penny of it. And the cool thing with Old Republic is when you set up, when they do these service calls, you get a copy of the invoice so you can call them and say, hey, what happened? Stay in touch with them. Hey, by me pushing this Old Republic thing on you, it just saved you $1,000. They'll be forever thankful. And again, boom, referrals. You know, because at the end of the day, our business is based on referrals. Bob teaches don't ask for them. This is that secret way of asking without asking. Hey, look, by me doing this, it worked out for you. Well, they'll remember that. They'll say, yeah, Chris took care of me in ways that I never even thought of. And this is why Chris is worth being the realtor of your choice. All right, that sums up down payment assistance. Kind of now I'm opening up, kind of just doing a forum, whatever you guys want to talk about with it, questions on it before I bump into Home Partners, which is a pretty cool program. Here's my info, by the way. There's my cell phone number. There's my email, chris@chrislightrealtor.com. If you've got questions, want flyers, I've got Morgan's Supreme Lending flyer. I've got some info flyers here and there that I can always pass over. Or if you just got a question you don't want to ask, you know, in front of a webcam and everything, call me, text me, email me. Also check out, I have a website, Box website. I know I've talked about that a few times, and I'll give you guys the info on that at the end. But I made within my website box a single page called downpaymentguy.com. So if you go into that, it goes into my single page on website box. And I've got all kinds of information, just very basic stuff on there, and then a form. Want more information? Click here. Every time I market downpaymentguy.com on Facebook, I usually will generate 1 or 2 leads with just basic questions, and then I can usually point them in the right direction. But The single page lead capture sites, I know they talk about them. I know some of them charge pretty high dollars. They do work, but don't spend the high money on it. Buy a $99 website box and make your own single pages. If you want help with that, call me. I'm pretty techie on all that cool stuff. Questions on the down payment end before I roll into N2?
Can you post on 100K Club the repair people that you recommended, credit repair people?
Yeah. I can post the credit repair people. I know Dave Folk's on there a lot, but the other one is Valerie Richmond with Changing Lives Credit Repair, and I can post her info on there too. She's real good at what she does. It's just her. It's not, a whole huge company like NCF, but she does a good job, and her prices are very, very, in my opinion, affordable. And what she said, because she said she could charge a lot more, she does it to help people. Her style's just more of just she wants to help out. Any more? Cool. All right, so the other end of what I wanted to discuss and talk about today, Home Partners of America. I've only been doing real estate for a year now. I kind of stumbled on Home Partners about 6 months ago. I think Cindy with Griffin Group, you guys push Home Partners, and CB pushes Home Partners a ton. And I think that's kind of how, through Christina, I stumbled upon it. Just got into a Home Partners house myself. When you're first year in real estate, you got to pay the taxes. I retired from public, so I got to deal with some tax stuff on all that. And also kind of, I only worked part of the year last year, so I got to keep pushing the income upwards and have a full year of actual taxes. But had a baby girl. She was born last year, back in June. So, 4 kids in a 3-bedroom house over in Palm Harbor. That was a Waypoint rental, and we were just kind of outgrowing it, and we wanted to start buying. And, with all that, it was kind of a little rough. So we went the Home Partners route. We sent all of our docs. All I had to send to them was a P&L showing what I had made in the past 3 months. And that past 3 months, I had made $40,000. So it looked real good, even though for the year I only made 50. So, listen, when I work, I make money. When I don't work and I sit behind, sit on the couch, that's like Bob says, turn the TV off. When you turn the TV off, look what can happen. It works out real well. Yeah, I'm in a Home Partners house. So I've done the whole process, start to finish, but not just start to finish as a realtor, start to finish and day one walking into the house. So when you're doing a Home Partners transaction, you don't get all that. The tenants who are the clients, from the day that the closing is, they're no longer yours. They're, Home Partners, and they're Pathlight Property Managements. So I can kind of give some info on how that experience went and things to be aware of and things to kind of help them on the way there. So Home Partners of America, they're really an innovative organization. They're a real estate investment trust. They're based out of Chicago, and they purchase homes for qualified clients and then lease the homes to them for up to 5 years with an option to purchase. Real good program. They do mark up the house price a little bit. So a good example, Home Partners bought the house I'm in for $285,000. Then they had estimated, I think, about $8,000 in make-ready and closing costs for that loan, or for that purchase. Once they get to that final number, they're going to add 5% onto that purchase price every year. So that's cool in year one because that only puts you at about $310,000. By year 5, that's about $396,000. So my theory with it is if they're not going to want to buy it within the first 2 years, I would be hesitant. Because an appraisal for $396,000 in 5 years on a $285,000 house, that's a gamble. And we don't know, as much as we are able to navigate the waters, we don't know where they're going to be in 5 years. We don't even know where they're going to be next Tuesday. And that's one thing about Home Partners I do fear is, what if the market tanks? Then I'm in a house I can't get to appraise, so I've either got to make cash to close or give up the house and buy something that's, more affordable in that market. But as long as the market stays stable, everything stays good, it's a great option for somebody who just needs a little bit of a boost. Homepartners.com. If you go to their website, up on the top right corner, it says Agents, click here. Make an account, get in there, get in their back end. They will reach out to you usually within 2 to 3 days and introduce themselves, talk to you. They do classes here and there. They do a ton of webinars and just good info, good programs. And they really aggressively, I spoke with a VP a couple weeks ago. We had coffee. They want to buy in Florida. They really, really, really want to buy in Florida. So they're begging for us to find people that'll do Home Partners.
Do they do condos and townhomes versus single?
They will only do regular sale, single-family houses and townhomes.
Okay.
They will not buy a condo interest. They no longer buy a bank foreclosure either.
When is it commissionable to us?
When Home Partners buys that house and you go to closing, and Home Partners closes these in 30
Regardless
days.
of whether the tenant buyer to be closes or buys later on or not.
So here's how mine happened. I'll go over this real quick. We found the house. We loved it. Oh my gosh. Sent it to Home Partners, sent the data sheet in, did the renovation checklist, and all that to them. They wrote a contract. We closed that thing 28 days later. I walked into Stewart Title in Palm Harbor. They handed me my full commission check.
Who does the renovation sheet?
So the renovation checklist, there's multiple different forms. The renovation checklist I speak of is very simple. We walk the house with the client. It has in there, here's what Home Partners will do, here's what Home Partners will not do. A couple of the questions are, do you want the house painted? Do you want new carpet? Stuff, it's very basic stuff. Or say there's a refrigerator that doesn't work in the house, and you say fridge doesn't work, replace it, stuff like that. It's a very simple renovation checklist, more for the client's end, and to let them know this is what they'll do, this is what they won't do. The one I have under contract right now for Home Partners, one bedroom has that blood red carpet, and they asked for the carpet to be replaced. They approved it. The other bedroom has blue, kind of ocean blue paint. They just want it to be a standard paint color. They have 3 paint colors. They have one that's kind of like this wall. They have a gray, and they have a white. And they do let the tenant choose from those 3 colors. They're Sherwin-Williams. They have the paint codes. So if they're, OCD on it, they can Google it, the Sherwin-Williams paint codes. I did it. I'm not going to lie. I looked up the paint codes. But they then, when you put it under contract, they send out US Inspect, which is the home inspector. And Wayne does a phenomenal job. He's a nitpicker. And honestly, if there's a way, he has an E-key, so he can go in if it's vacant. If it's owner occupied, if the owner's willing to let him in, that's great, because he is not allowed to say a word to you about the house during the inspection. So going to the inspection is just kind of going there as, hey, I'm here for the inspection. He's not going to say a word to you.
You as the agent?
As the agent.
Or the client?
As the agent.
Okay. Can the client be there?
The client may not, under any circumstances, go to a Home Partners inspection.
Okay.
They will not get a copy of the inspection report either. So I have a copy of my inspection report, but that's because I had to negotiate a $5,000 repair credit. That's the only way I know mine, but it's a good 70-page long inspection report. It's very detailed.
Is there a credit score that you have to meet?
So Home Partners does kind of a holistic approach. They look at everything. The word has been a 525. Cindy, I don't know if you've heard a FICO score number officially, but I've heard 525.
There is one. I don't think it's crazy. What they're basically looking for, if you can move into those $1,500 a month rentals, you likely can qualify to move into this, because to move into $1,500 rentals, they're looking for you to have 3 times of the rental income.
Exactly.
So you're going to have that anyway. And I wanted to point out, there is a $75 fee for them to apply to get the Home Partners process started on the end buyer's side. Not if Christopher is representing Home Partners, he doesn't have any expenses that way, but the end buyer that's leasing it from Home Partners does have that $75.
They do, yeah. They do have the cool thing. It was on actually the next slide. We got ahead. It's all good. They do have a $75 application fee, but the cool thing about Home Partners is they have a pre-screening application. So they don't want, the cool thing, Home Partners doesn't want you to waste your money.
Yep.
they'll pre-screen you. They're going to ask the basic questions. Have you had a bankruptcy, or do you have an eviction on your credit report, or do you have twice the amount of what your rent would be ready to go in a checking account? Can you prove all that? If you say no to any of those questions, they just say, hey, you're not ready to go at this point. Don't, spend the money. That's the one thing I like about Home Partners. They're great at communication. At the end of the day, they're looking out for their investors and they're looking out for their pocket, but they're not, they're an investment company that's not out to screw the poor tenants. And a lot of places with, options, they're shady. This is not shady. I'm living in one, so I can say that.
Now, and by the way, I looked them up on the Better Business Bureau, and they get highly rated.
Yeah.
But now, who negotiates any repairs? An inspection is done, it's their inspector.
So inspection is done. He sends to me the inspections at homepartners.com account, whoever's doing it for the day, Alex, Jim, whoever, sends the email. Here's the inspection report. Here's the list of things that we have to do for Make Ready. Some of them are just repairs. Some of them are code upgrades. Example, they put into my garage the poles in front of the water heater and the air handler. They're going to bring the house up to code also, because at the end of the day, if they don't do certain code upgrades, it's their liability. If I run into my air handler with my car, I can say, well, Home Partners should have put a pole there. So they do all that. If they do ask for credit because the repairs are outside their budget of what they estimated for the Make Ready, they will email you all that stuff and say, negotiate repairs. When I negotiated my $5,000 credit, the seller said yes, no problem. I wrote the addendum, sent it to the buyer, whoever the buyer was on that day for signing, signed it, sent it to me, I sent it to seller. Now, on the other hand, you don't have to write the contract. Home Partners writes the contract. That's cool. That saves me an hour right there, and it's a very basic contract. They don't ask for warranties. They don't ask for any of that mumbo jumbo. Heck, they don't even ask for the owner's policy to be paid because they want it through Stewart Title. So they pay for everything. And like the one I have under contract right now, she was like, oh, I'll throw in a home warranty. I'll throw in closing cost credit for a full price one. Well, she had just lost a contract and had a copy of the appraisal. I sent the appraisal to Home Partners and said there's another offer possibly coming. They wrote her a full price offer, and she made more money off that Home Partners full price offer than she would have made off a finance full price offer with the stuff she was going to offer. So Home Partners writes awesome offers. I will say that. They're not that cash investor that's looking to be cheap. They're looking to be a winner for those clients and to make the money they want to make. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
So you said that you show proof of income for the last 3 months, but is there a yearly income that you need to meet?
So they will ask for your tax return, and they did look at my whole year's income also. But they were able to see, okay, he's got a trend, because when I got into real estate back in March, I left Publix last March. When I got into it, I sold my grandma's house. And then I called Bob, and I'm like, Bob, hey, Bob. Hey. Bob, I don't know what to do. I have no clue what I'm doing. I've sold a house, and I'm running out of money. And Bob brought me into $100K, and best thing that ever happened was that. But, daughter was born. I took time off. I had never taken a real vacation at Publix, so I kind of lounged. And then when I got busy in building it, I was able to do all that. And based off my annual income and based off they could see where my trend was with productivity, they're like, here's what you're approved for. And it was enough to get into a $285,000 house in a deed-restricted community in East Lake with a pool. So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Paying a little high in rent, in my opinion, but at the end of the day, the mortgage will be maybe a couple $100 cheaper once I get it, financed. Yeah.
Chris, you mentioned that they won't do bank foreclosures.
They no longer will.
Does that include bank owned?
Yes.
So,
no bank owned, no short sales. They don't do any of that. They do standard for sale houses in the MLS. Supposedly they may do FSBOs, but I've yet to try doing a FSBO, and I could see it being a disaster trying to negotiate a Home Partners contract with a FSBO.
a weird requirement that they have, at least I find it to be weird is this high school thing.
Yes.
They only will buy houses in areas where the high schools are rated above a certain, in my market, there's a very nice part of town. You can't buy a house there.
Yeah.
Because the high school's not got a good rate.
It's tied into the high schools because they feel that the high school is how the money is in the house. Now, I don't know how all that works. James and I just put a house on the market in the Ridgecrest area, and it's zoned for Seminole High, so guess what? It's a Home Partners qualifying property. I thought it was Largo High, which I don't think Largo works on it, but yeah, it's Seminole High. It does have to be in a good school zone. Ironically, the one I have under contract right now, they're, heading into retirement, they don't care. But at the end of the day, you do have to cross-reference anything they're interested in that they find on MLS with homepartners.com. And they have two different ways. You can cross-reference it through their IDX search, which has the listing in there, or you can go up, one of the pages is just key in any address. So if it's not on the market and you're thinking of listing the house, and these cool things. Hey, listing presentation. Hey, by the way, I can get into a whole nother market on top of the buyers that are out there and put this on your sign. All I got to do is key it into the system, make sure that the address is good to be inside Home Partners of America, stick this on here. Hey, there's those sign calls for you. Hey, it might not bring a buyer, but hey, there's buyer leads for you. Refer them out, send them out.
So, Christy, how much of your lease payment goes to the purchase?
Nothing.
Nothing.
It is a standard lease with option to purchase. This is not rent to own. Rent to own is where, like 10% goes towards, the purchase price. It's none of that. Now, the cool thing is based on, I'm paying about $2,400 a month in rent, which is fine by me. I had to ship up to them $4,800 of a security deposit. When I go to put under contract, I have to put another $1,000 in escrow. Well, hey, guess what? That $4,800 gets reimbursed to me at closing on the HUD statement. It just paid all my closing costs. And you find a good lender that doesn't charge a ton of fees because you're not using down payment assistance in this situation, which you can use down payment in this situation, but I'm not. Hey, all my closing costs are paid, so now I only have to come up with, the 1% or 3% or whatever the lending company wants me to put down.
I think of one of the biggest things to look at, because a lot of people are like, oh, none of my rent goes towards the actual purchase of the house. At least the people I've talked to, well, I've been able to overcome that. Well, a lot of rent-to-own properties require a large down payment.
Yes.
That's non-refundable.
A lot of rent-to-owns are 10 to 20% down payment. I mean, you could go ahead and do a conventional mortgage with that.
Right.
And the other thing is a lot of rent-to-owns who are owners, they're not going to do maintenance on it. Home Partners splits the maintenance with you. If it's something big like your AC goes out, they're going to fix it. Now, if you have a small shower leak or something like that and it's not significant, it's better to just call a plumber. But that's the great part about Home Partners is that it's a true lease with a right to purchase option. If they're sitting there looking at Waypoint Homes and Invitation and they have enough money saved up to do this is a win-win all the way around. Hey, Bob.
The reality is with extra money going towards down payment from rent, back in the day, when I allowed lease options being done by us, which I don't, everybody here, each one knows that we do not allow anymore, right? Okay. Without special dispensation, my holy water tossed on the contract. But I'd have people that were buying from me, they'd say, well, how much is going towards, principal reduction? I'd say zero. Then I'd say, well, how much do you want? And they'd say, well, I'd like $300 or $400. I'd say, great. Rent used to be $2,000, now it's $2,400. Right? If you want me to be your savings account, I will. Right? But rent just went up because if market rent is X and you want X amount of dollars going toward, principal reduction, then we'll take X and add to whatever you want to go in. So it sounds like
Exactly. They don't do that at all. And you know what? When I started crunching the numbers, because originally I thought my rent was a tad high because it's more than the mortgage. When I started crunching the numbers, they're paying my HOA fees, they're paying the taxes, and they're paying $125 a month for pool service for me. And that's with a saltwater pool system, which I don't know if some of you guys saw on 100K. They use this company called Pool Troopers, and they come out, and it's $50 a month if you just want the chemical service. They come out and they install a saltwater pool system for free. Like the $1,000 one at Pinch a Penny. And as long as you use them, you get to use that system for free. And they maintain and salt it. Hey, I love not having chlorine in that water because I've got sensitive eyes. When they rolled up that day to set up the pool, because there were some pool repairs needed, and they said, oh yeah, we have a pool contract to clean it. I saw that they, in my lease there was a pool contract. I never expected a saltwater pool system out of the deal. I was dancing.
Well, it sounds like kind of like leasing a car, because then at the end, you buy it, if you go ahead and act on the option, you're buying it for the same price
Exactly.
that they bought it for, right?
Well, you're buying it, no, there's some markup, there's markup on it.
It does go up
5% a year.
each year.
So, yeah.
That's how you know what your purchase price is.
But keep in mind, unlike a car, see, a car is kind of backwards. When you drive it off the lot, you lose, 10%, 12%, driving off the lot, 20%. I haven't bought a new car in a while, thank the stars. But with a house, values go up, so they're gonna try and make a profit off that.
You say that it goes up 5% a year? Mm-hmm. What if the house appreciates 10%? You still only charging 5?
They're only charging 5 and you're making money, baby. And if it doesn't, and it goes the other way, you're in trouble.
No, you're not.
Or you just leave.
You just don't buy it.
Exactly. But you know what, for me,
That's what an option
but you know what, for me, that means I've got to repack. I've got to deal with all that stuff. I don't want to do that. I got 4 kids.
You made a comment about the market tanking. The market tanks, the market tank. An option is you have the right, not
Exactly.
the obligation to purchase the product. And one other thing, because you did this sort of after down payment assistance, I think people are connecting the two. A good candidate for a lease option is not a down payment assistance.
Totally. Agreed.
There are lots of people walking around out there that have great income, tons of money in the bank, but because of something, short sale, foreclosure in the past, they need time before they will qualify.
Exactly.
And they don't want to rent. So it's a great tool. It's just rent-to-owns are scams. What seller would do a lease option now in this market? But I think there are a lot of people that would be interested in this, but you have to understand what it is. It's not
You've got to find the right people for it. Definitely.
It's for people that have a lot of money, they don't qualify for a mortgage today and need time.
Well, the one I'm working right now, here's a prime example. The one I've got under contract right now, she is a school principal. He is a VP of some sign company, and I'm not talking about like fast signs, I'm talking about like the big digital signs that are out there. So they've got great income. They're currently in a lawsuit suing a seller of the house that they bought previously because of stuff that was not disclosed that should have been disclosed. So they're stuck in a mortgage right now with that one, so they can't move into a second mortgage based on all that stuff going on, and they wanted to do this route instead. So yeah, definitely, they've got to have the money. That's the one thing. You're not gonna, with down payment assistance, you can buy a house for $1,000, $2,000. You're not doing that with Home Partners. And the minimum rent with Home Partners is $1,200 a month, and that's to buy like a $100,000 house.
Tell me again the money that's needed for the buyer or the tenant upfront. Walk me through that again.
2 months of rent. So if you go onto homepartners.com and maybe I can pop one up.
Which is what a landlord's gonna, any landlord's gonna ask for first month's rent.
Well, Waypoint, Invitation Homes, they all ask for 1 month unless your credit's like a disaster. Home Partners does it because they want to, I hate to say this word, filter. This is coming out of the mouth of a VP. They want to filter, and people who put more money in are usually going to care for the house more. Because the thing that they don't want is a move out and the place is trashed, because then they have to re-rent it. But if you go to, here's a good example.
Doctors are great candidates.
I had a doctor call me. I tried to push it, and
Doctor's credit blows.
Exactly. His credit score was like a 420. I'm like, how do you have a 420? You're a doctor.
Really simple and terrible with money.
You can fix credit score in a year, if you got 12 months.
Well, that's why I was saying, Valerie Richmond, Dave Folk, those people, that's what they're for. Okay, here's a good example. I'm just going to pull a random house up on the screen just to try and help. Come on, computer.
And just another thing, if you're doing a real lease option, forget home.
Yeah, right.
And you can't, there are no real lease options out there.
Especially for some agents.
It's a lease. It's two agreements. A lease, just a lease, then an option to purchase. Those aren't free. Usually you have to put $5,000.
Exactly.
Non-refundable money that the seller takes.
This security with Home Partners is completely refundable. That's the good news with it.
And that's why you get upset, and that's why we don't allow it.
It is completely legit.
In this current market.
There is another company that does these, and I did look into it when I was going for myself, and they required like a good 10 to 15% down. It was a lot of money. Okay, so here's a house, for example, somewhere in Palm Harbor. You can pull this house in the MLS because this is where it's coming from. It's listed right now in MLS at $338,900. Based off that, there's your rent, $24.40 a month. They have to be approved for that rent amount. They have to have ready to go to send up within 3 days of me putting it under contract, double that. So that would be $48.80 that they're gonna have to overnight to Chicago to Stewart Title. And then here's your right to purchase prices. Year one, your rent's $24.40. The right to purchase will be $369,000. Year two, $25.30, $387,400. But look, year five, $28.30 in rent, $448,000. That's over $100,000. That's where I'm saying be careful because years 4 and 5, they go up a lot.
And then the interest rate, did you lock the interest rate?
No, because they are home partners, and they will say this and make you sign this. Home Partners is not a lender. So it's whatever interest rate the current rate is with, Frank Cotto, DDA, Supreme Lending. It's at the time of buying. They will not guide you in any of that either.
Chris, and you mentioned this before, and it's really true. Lease options are not for people to exercise options in 5 years.
No.
If they're not going to buy that house in the first year or two, it's not going to work no matter what they do. Number one. Number two, that number, the 369, they don't prorate that. That's the purchase price month 1, month 10, month 11.
Exactly.
12. On month 13, it goes to the next year.
Exactly.
So it's not
And
like
you have to close it.
1 month.
You have to close it prior to crossing that number. So, say February is when you got into the house and you're having to wait to do your taxes or something, good luck. You're gonna have to do the year 2 price. Now, one thing I will say that they'll try to do, $338,900, maybe they'll come in at $330,000. If they can get the price down in any way, they're gonna try and do what's best for their interest and your interest too.
And then they'll adjust the.
And then those will adjust.
Right.
The rent is based off that list price, will never adjust. Now, if you see and here's one thing to know, if they've dropped the price in MLS, rent will go down. But keep in mind, this site is just like Zillow and all those sites. It's going to take 3 to 5 days to update and all that. So you're going to have to sit and wait until day 3 or day 5. And then once it's updated, then you can push it through.
I sold one last year. Now, if I ask them, like when you, let's say you want to buy it, are you represented by your choice of realtors, or do they go through their own? So I don't get the. The client gets, and the one thing, this is kind of cool why I can share all this. I've seen the client side of it as the tenants going to buy it. They will get, when you put it under contract using that FAR bar as is contract on day 1, they will get a 72-page lease. That includes the FAR bar contract of what the contract will probably look like when you go to put it under contract. They use the current FAR bar, but 2 years from now it might be a revised FAR bar, but it kind of shows the terms that they do and everything. You don't use a realtor when you do the other purchase. Now, I always say to them, hey, when you're ready to purchase it, call me. I can't do anything to negotiate it because we're not allowed. There's not an inspection period. You're accepting it as is because they already did all that. But let me get you with the right lender at least. Let me do you the favor so that they don't call the wrong lender.
More than that, and by the way, the reason I know a little bit about this is because I called Chris a month ago, and he told me a lot of things, and I've been checking them out. What you do is, as a realtor, you just sign up with them.
Yeah.
And then you have a login. When you have a candidate, you refer your candidate to Home Partners America through your account.
Yes.
They know it's you, and you're always the realtor.
And that's the cool thing is you're locked in.
I know that
Now,
part.
funny enough, and you know, Cindy, I don't know if maybe someone from CB did this, because if they did, oops. Somebody's posting about Home Partners of America on Craigslist. And the client that I'm with now didn't have a realtor. Obviously, that person who posted about it didn't put contact info. They applied for Home Partners, didn't have an agent. They drove by Rose Velasquez's listing, called Rose. Rose had no clue. She posted 100K. Of course, I'm like, yeah, I'm in one right now. And all I had to do was call Home Partners. They called to verify that the client was working with me, and they're tied in with me.
When you register yourself as an agent in Home Partners, they will have Craigslist ads, and he's right. Be careful when you post. If you're posting future home realtor listings, give Bob's permission to do it. I know what permission I have for my company to do any of our team's listings. So as long as you promote it right, and the people come back to you, it's important to post the right number.
You have to post the right number. You know, good example, I was waiting for James's listing that we put on the market yesterday to pop up in here, because I can Facebook market it as listed for 170, also available through Home Partners of America at X dollars a month for rent with a lease purchase option. Hey, boom, I just got extra advertising in there, and you know, in those Facebook groups, a lot of them are probably renting, looking for cool options and programs available.
And Home Partners has a lot of language already available.
Inside the portal, yeah.
Yep.
Tons of marketing materials inside the portal.
They even have webinars for it.
Yes. HPA qualifiers, here's some basic qualifiers to know, and this is the stuff that's kind of asked in the pre-qual questionnaire. The household has to have an annual income of at least $50,000. If their income is $49,500, they're to find $500 of income. We actually, for me, my income qualified alone, but I had to pop in, I forgot to put in my wife's income that she had as a nurse from the first half of the year because she's still working, and that's what kind of gave us the boost that we needed to get into what we did. They cannot accept you into the program if anyone in the household has a eviction history or a pending bankruptcy. Now that doesn't necessarily mean if they have a collections on there from an apartment complex, because I think my wife had one from her divorce from like 6 years ago. It's about to roll off. So collection is one thing. Evictions is a different thing. They don't want to touch an eviction. Pending bankruptcy, as long as it's been discharged, you're fine. Everyone in the household who is over 18 will be subject to a criminal background check. They don't want crime. They make you actually sign a crime commitment statement saying that they can terminate you immediately if you're found guilty of a crime. HPA does look at debt to income ratio, rental, criminal employment history, and FICO scores. They're going to look at your DTI ratio and make sure you're not at like 90%. Because, well, if you're at 90% with this house you're getting into, how are you going to buy it? You know, they do look at the end of the day to make sure that you're in a position where, okay, in a year, they should be able to buy this house. They're not just looking to scam people. As I said, the pre-application's free. Application $75 a household. That's the only real upfront cost for Home Partners beyond the security deposit. Hey, Nick.
What's their minimum FICO score?
The rumor I've heard is 525, but I can't find it documented anywhere.
I thought I saw it in one of their webinars too, but I couldn't remember.
I heard that too in a webinar, and I think that's where I think I heard it,
Right.
but they don't have it documented. And that's one thing that always bothered me is, you know, it's not documented. Yes, sir.
You offer a service to improve their credit score?
I don't myself, but I do have organizations I can refer out to. Dave Folk with National Credit Federation, Valerie Richmond with Changing Lives Credit Repair are the two that I kind of recommend out there, that are out there and do a great job.
Can you go to the previous screen?
This one?
No, the one with all the money.
Oh, that was on the website.
The online, where you
That was on their website.
I'm
Oh.
trying to figure out how you went from 339 to 369 with a 5% increase.
Well, it changes.
Okay,
4 and 5.
so no, how you went, so here's what happens. They will get in their email, and they have to approve it, we're buying the house for $338,900. Title company is gonna cost $4,000, because keep in mind, they're paying the owner's policy, they're paying the
Oh, so you're adding that in.
the dock stamps, all that gobbledygook. Then they're estimating, maybe $8,000 for make ready and code improvements and all that. Once they add all that to that number, that's where it brings you to that 369. But then these numbers only go up 5%. Yeah,
This year's a lot cheaper because they're not adding any closing costs.
exactly. You're gonna pay every penny of what they paid plus 5%. So that's kind of how it works. The hope is, if it's a great looking house, it'll go for a lot better when it comes to make ready. On the other end, my first house I tried to get into with Home Partners was a flip, and the sellers put makeup on a pig, and we lost that house. When your breaker box is sparking during the home inspection, you've got a pool with a bad deck crack. Yeah, they didn't put enough makeup on it. And let me tell you, the Wayne with US Inspect is a nitpicker, and they choose him on purpose to do that because they want to milk out every dollar they can from the seller. I hate to say it that way. Lindsay.
Before we move on, you mentioned when we were talking about the screen last, that let's say they negotiate the price down and you get it for $330,000, but the list price was the $338,900. You mentioned that the rent doesn't change.
Rent does not change.
But if it's price dropped in the MLS.
In the MLS,
Correct.
once it updates on here, all these numbers will change.
Right, okay, but not if they negotiate with the seller.
Yeah. If they negotiate the price to $300,000, you're still paying that $2,440 rent.
Okay.
That stinks.
Yeah.
That part does
So
stink.
you
So
want
you
to try to
negotiate with the
negotiate.
listing agent, hey, change it in the MLS since we agreed upon this.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Right.
Well, here's
I'm like, look,
here's the hard part though. By that point, you've already negotiated a contract and it's locked in and it's been signed by all parties. What you'd have to do, if they either that or and the seller might not go for that idea. Plus, then you've got to add 5 days on for it to transmit to Home Partners and update, which they might get a multiple offer bidding war out of that deal.
Right.
That's the downside. I was thinking the same thing.
No, but I was thinking, like, what,
Chris?
how do you?
Yeah.
One of the tricky things about this is they pre-approve the renter for a rental amount,
Yes.
but you have to get that to translate into a purchase price, and that you're on your own
Yes.
for.
Well, and see, the rental amount, they do it because they have the whole formula. If you took my house out of Woodfield, got rid of the pool, my rent would be about $1,900. Your rent is determined based on taxes, all these things. So you do have to look at both sides. And you got to make sure they look at those purchase prices and like, hey, in a year, are you going to be able to really buy this? Is it worth them still talking to a lender? Oh, yeah. Hey, make sure this is what you are able to do in all angles. If not, hey, after a year, they can move out. By the way, for full disclosure, if you're an agent representing yourself in this transaction, so say my house, you're required to do a 2-year lease for the first term. So just so you know, I'm locked in for 2 years until I buy, which I plan on buying, so. Quick facts, you take qualified clients out to see homes that they are qualified to buy, you get the full commission as if that person was buying the home. As I said, they close these babies quick. Hey, you can have in 30 days and very, very nice commission. Agent must cross-reference the homepartners.com site and MLS as it's based off rent price, not sale price, as we were discussing. Rent price for eligible homes are on HP's website. Home Partners writes the contract, which is awesome. So it's not like you have to write it and then go back and forth with them to get it to where they want it to be. They write the contract, they use FARBAR as is. They do add a buyer's addendum onto it of things that they require, but it's pretty simple stuff. One of the things, if there's a swing set or a play set outside, they're gonna say take it down. HPA completes 3 inspections while it's under contract. US Inspect, as I discussed, a general contractor who is usually either with Pathlight Property Management or a contractor company will come in, walk through to see what make-ready things may be needed, and then a broker will call and do a BPO on the property. They say the BPO, they tell us to tell the sellers the BPO doesn't matter, but they do want an interior BPO. HPA pays for the owner's policy because they want to use Stewart Title. Stewart Title is who handles the escrow checks and also handles the security deposit up in Chicago. And that's how they're able to remote sign from Chicago down to Florida on the same day. So it's going to be Stewart Title. If the seller says, no, I want to use Joe's title, too bad, so sad. If the seller won't budge on that, the seller's not going to be able to do it. They do have some non-negotiables there, and that's one of them.
What is the commission you're talking about?
Whatever's offered in MLS.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay, 2.5%, 3%.
I got my 3% on a $285,000 house I'm renting now, and I'm a happy camper. That was more than what I had to put down in a security deposit, so it worked out for me. You complete the closing walkthrough on HPA's behalf. No one from HPA flies down. So you'll walk through, you're gonna send them probably 60 pictures of every corner and crevice of the house, every appliance, the garage, the roof, the pool. They wanna see how that house looks on closing day. They then you'll send all that. You'll also send your future home release and acceptance. Bob, I'm thinking of the word, I'm drawing a blank. Final walkthrough and acceptance, thank you. They will put a line through buyer has done walkthrough and they will change it to agent and then they'll sign it. No need to attend closing at Stewart Title unless the seller's forcing you to go to closing to get the keys. You drive to Stewart Title and pick up your check.
They also want pictures in the beginning when you go shopping with the client or
Although the system asks for pictures, I've yet to send any pictures because most of the listings I've sent have had 25 pictures in MLS. So you do have to send them the MLS data sheet, a signed seller's property disclosure, and they'll log into MLS and they can see all the pictures.
They made me go back.
Yeah, so if they want more pictures, they're gonna ask you to go. Yeah.
And I said, it's in there.
Bad 24, if there's a house with a pool and there's no pool picture, they need pool pictures.
Yeah.
The one thing that they do require, and Bob requires it too, seller's property disclosure. When that seller has that non-knock, you gotta call them. You've gotta explain then what's going on. Most of these realtors are like, huh? I'm going to be very honest. Most realtors, when you say you're working with home partners, are like, huh? And then you've got to pull teeth to get them. And, the one cool thing is if you want an offer, a cash offer, quick close offer, that's not a BS offer of a low dollar, I need this form. And usually they'll budge and they'll get it to you.
And then they have this thing with, what happened to me is that I found the house, sent the pictures, and then they looked at the HOA and they said, nope, don't want this one.
They will look at HOA rules. Fieldcrest, there's one up in Pasco right now, it's off of 54.
Bridgewater, they don't take.
Bridgewater, yes. Right there. Bridgewater, they will not take. I got the phone call saying you did a naughty thing by doing Bridgewater. Bridgewater requires 2 years of ownership prior to leasing. If there are any leasing restrictions required by the HOA, such as a credit check, a background check, et cetera, they will not buy the house. Do your homework on the HOA before sending it in. I thought I did, and then we discovered the next morning that there's that 2-year rule, and it was hidden down there deep in the docks. They said no. Lindsay.
Even if it's a background check or credit check, even if they don't have like a lease restriction time frame, they still won't do it?
They will not do it because they want to be able to have the ability to lease to anybody that they approve. Not, oh my gosh, Joey approved, we approved them, but he's got a misdemeanor traffic stop and, they won't do it.
Right.
Because then they've bought a house.
Walking a very thin line. Someone says, I didn't get approved because I have green eyes.
Right.
Yeah.
I know, that's exactly
Okay,
true.
they are walking.
They're walking a thin line.
all the HOA presidents are all former
Military.
co-op.
Yeah.
New York, that think they, can do anything they want to do, and because my last name is X, all right, we can say whatever we want.
My president lives across the street from me, so.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
All right, couple quick things just to say, if the home has poly piping or aluminum wiring, forget it. Don't even move it forward. HPA sign writers, if you get in touch with them, they'll send you these. If you're a listing agent that does more listings than I do, get them. Or if they're in an area and you want to borrow one of mine and send me leads, hey, cool, I'll pay 25% any day on a buyer you send me for HPA. They're great transactions. Questions, homepartners.com, make an agent account, sign writers, marketing tab for all kinds of cool stuff. If you got a client in need, because I need to wrap it up, I guess, Home Partners, down payment assistance, call me. If you don't want to deal with it because, it is complex, it's a different style, you learned about the basics, but you don't want to deal with the whole process, send them to me. I'd be glad to help. I think Nick does them too in his area. Or, call me and I'll find someone for that area. We'd be glad to pay a referral on it. I cover Pinellas, Pasco, Hillsborough. I might even go to Polk if I needed to. I have connections also throughout the state. I have connections in Orlando, Jacksonville, Miami. So if you're looking for something, let me know. I can find you, the answer you need. Thanks. Last but not least, I'm giving a little prop to Website Box because I get so many website questions. It's a $99 one-time fee website. Not $99 a month, not $49 a month, not $10 a month with whatever. It's $99 one time, unless you do any of the add-ons, which are like $59, $79, $99 for the add-ons. There's the link to get into it. If you want to preview my site, it's chrislightrealtor.com, just to kind of see what I've done with it.
You built it yourself?
They build it with a template, and then I've kind of just updated it. And then on the back end, that's how my downpayment.com page works, is on the back end of that.
Nick, is that same one you use?
No, I use Placer.
He uses Playster, which is what I was going to use. Actually, yours shows up better on a mobile than mine does.
Well,
I will say
you
that.
can do a nice little webinar for us so we can put it on FH charging. Question a lot, don't we, Jim?
So I next have to do Website Box. We're doing Playster. Probably a transaction desk class, because I think Jim said he does Form Simplicity. Because we got a lot of changes, I guess, coming to FHR in the next few months.
This class will be up within a day on FHR University.
Check it out.
If you guys want to go back and review, if you came in and missed some of the beginning, we'll get it all back up there. If you haven't been to FHR University, start digging in. There's plenty. Every time we show up anywhere, we're recording.
It's phenomenal. It really is. It is really a great tool. Hey.
I was just wondering, do you have the one site or do you have to pay for multiple URLs for the 99 each?
So here's what I do. I have one site. I use Uniregistry, which is a domain name registrar for the websites. I actually own chrislightrealtor.com, soldpinellas.com, soldpasco.com, jamielight.com, because my wife is getting licensed in the next few months, hopefully, once we get everything settled down. I own, I think, ancloterealty.com, which is not tied to anything at this point, but kind of a project that I was going to try and do with Anclote Title to help them gain business and also gain business for me with Future Home. And then I own downpaymentguy.com, and that one points.
Do you make those active, or do you have to pay $99 for each one?
No, because they all point to the same website. Now, if I wanted to turn downpaymentguy.com into like a multi-paged, its own full factioned website, then it would be another $99. But this is just a page within the master site. You go buyers, and then there's down payment assistance. I've got downpaymentguy.com linked to just go to that one page. So it's a great $99.
Direct, but you don't have to pay for it?
Correct.
The redirects to the same.
So here,
Forward line.
It works the same with GoDaddy and
if you go, watch out with GoDaddy. They're a little overpriced, just my 2 cents. If you go to,
Patrick for free.
if you go, exactly. If you go to chrislightrealtor.com, it goes to chrislightrealtor.com. If you go under buyers, see down payment assistance. That's downpaymentguy.com. But if I go to downpaymentguy.com, instead of it taking me to the base site, it takes you
To a page within Chris.
to a page with some cool basic info with a bunch of stories of, hey, here's what I've closed lately with these programs and what I've done. Contact me.
Where do you get the IDX that you use?
Website box provides the IDX. Free with your purchase. The only thing you have to do is they send you docs. I had to send it to Jim. I don't know what Jim did. And then within 3 days, it turned on. Jim's got magical, whimsical power when it comes to IDXs. But it's cool. And it works. It's generated a few leads. I've yet to generate a sale by the design, but I'm not heavily marketing it because I'm kind of busy.
But it's there. It's good.
It's there. It's a good web presence. Anything else? Cool.
Thank you, Chris.
I appreciate the time. Thanks for putting up with me.
Very cool. Good deal.
Cool.
All right, we're supposed to start at 10:30.